Nick Al, OKCThunder.com. Mark, what do you think your guys were able to get to in the fourth quarter, both defensively and then offensively, that was able to change the game so much?
I thought it was the third that really changed the game. I thought we went down 15 really from when we went up 10 in the second quarter all the way until the 4-minute mark in the third. They just controlled the game. They really punched us in the face. Give them a lot of credit for the aggressiveness they played with. And it took us a long time to get a response there. And that group at the end of the third really got us back in the game and just shifted the tone of the game a little bit. And then the group down the stretch did a great job. But I didn't think any of our players were particularly great tonight individually. But at the same time, everybody had some part in the win. In different stretches of the game, we needed everybody tonight. And everybody answered, from about the third quarter on.
Yeah, one of the guys that contributed was Poku. He had 7 and 2 blocks in the second half alone, and seemed to tip in rebounds, sprinting the length of the floor to get in position. Your thoughts on maybe what he was able to give you from an energy standpoint?
Yeah, I thought he really helped us offensively too. I thought he helped us with just his movement, creating action for us, ball movement. He made some shots. And then, defensively, he was physical as heck. We had J-Rob on Banchero down the stretch. He was on Carter, who gave us problems for the majority of the game until the stretch run. And so he did a good job standing in there as well.
Paris Lawson, OKCThunder.com. Wanted to ask you about Shai specifically in that crunch time moment, the fourth quarter. Just what does he give this group in that sort of environment and moment in the game?
Great poise. Great poise. That's probably the thing that stands out about that stretch. I still don't think he's playing his best basketball for 48 at least, and I don't think he will either after tonight. But in the fourth quarter for sure, and it started with our stops. It was more that than anything. I thought all 5 of those guys were really scrappy. Trey gave us great stuff down on that end. Poku, him, J-Rob, Dort was pretty good on Banchero all game, and then we moved him off him late. And he remained good on that end of the floor.
Andrew Schlecht of The Athletic. Shai defended Franz Wagner really well in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Seemed very prepared for that matchup. Just tell me about maybe his defensive preparation for this matchup.
You'd have to ask him. Is he coming up? Yeah. Ask him on the prep. What'd you say?
I said I hope
so. Yeah. I'll get out of here as soon as possible for you. No. The thing that I'm more focused on is, he is evolving as a player, as all of our guys are, and an evolution for him is really the care factor on that end of the floor more than anything. Mm-hmm. He's 6'6", he's smart, he's tough, and if he's as invested on that end of the floor as he's been up until this point of the season, it's going to take our team to another level. Not only because of the contributions in a vacuum, but because when you've got a guy that's as talented as he is, and that's kind of, I wouldn't call him accomplished, but he's definitely kind of ahead of the peer group in some ways in terms of experience and what he's accomplished to this point in his short career. It's a tone setter when a guy like that cares that much on that end of the floor, and it makes it very, very hard for other guys to hide on that end, and we need that from him, and he's done a great job.
And then Giddey didn't close the game. You seem to kind of stagger him and Shai throughout the game. What went into that decision?
It was out of halftime. I was trying to get more balance in the units, I guess. I just went with that. It's going to be different guys on different nights. I mean, we didn't close Dort. We've closed a different group almost every night. He's getting back into rhythm. It's his first game back. And he was a huge catalyst for us in the third. I thought that group in the third, as much as the guys in the fourth, they scored 4 points, I think, in the last 7 minutes. It was a great effort there. But the game turned with that group in the third, with him and Oos. I think Poke might have been out there. J-Rob was out there. Trey maybe. That was the group that got the game turned, and Josh was a huge part of that.
And then when you look at results of lineups and stuff like that, you haven't played many lineups very many minutes at all. You've played lots and lots of different lineups. How do you get to a place where you use that kind of data, or what do you do with that kind of data?
The lineup data is complicated for a lot of reasons. It's hard to draw hard and fast conclusions about that. I would say that the data we look at more is like conceptual, so like combinations of players, groups that we know are switching more often than not, groups that we know are in coverage more often than not, but the sample's too low for that right now. And what we're doing right now is trying to create a situation where we're trying to do what's best for the team. We're trying to encourage guys to stay ready at any moment, and seeing who's rising to those opportunities. And I'll use Robinson Earl as an example here. I mean, it's not easy from a rhythm standpoint when you don't know exactly when you're going to play. But when you fight through that kind of mental hurdle, you actually become more resolved and you become tougher. And J-Rob's a guy the last 2 games hasn't played a ton of minutes, has been playing unpredictable rotations. Didn't start him out of halftime. And then tonight, I mean, he was a huge catalyst in that game. He was huge defensively. Him guarding Banchero allowed us to kind of slot down. We kind of matched their size late, which we were going away from early. Wasn't working for us. And, without him tonight, we don't get that game. And so that's just one anecdote as it relates to the lineups. And then once we've got kind of a body of work, we can take a step back and look at it once it's a little bit more, it has more integrity in terms of a sample.
Joe Masato, the Oklahoman. Mark, you mentioned that there's stuff that Shai could do even better. We can all see the great things he's doing out there, but what are some of those things that you're looking for out of him to even improve upon? The
defense sustaining that. It's only been 7 games, and we've got 70-something more. And then on the offensive end, a lot of it's like pace related. Fast up the floor, fast in the actions, like when we send somebody to the ball with him, the play against Bowl late, we call the matchup up. Robinson Earl sets a screen for him, and he hits the gas, and he has them, reacting to him, and he kicks out for Lou, and Lou hit the 3 in the left corner. That's exactly the kind of gas that we want him to play with. He also can break his guy down, which is helpful at times too, and he did that a lot tonight. I thought he kept us afloat with that, but if we're thinking long-term, our ability to be a team that plays with pace up the floor, inside of actions, is going to be critical, and it's going to maximize the rest of the guys, and that's kind of one of the things that we're trying to encourage him to do.
The Magic had a pretty significant size advantage. They played, it's like 4 7-footers almost out there. How do you think you handled their length?
Not good early in the second quarter and third. Obviously, we were trying to go small. We believe in the toughness and physical ability, capability of the group, and it's a challenge when you play against a team that's big like that, and you go small and you lean into that, and you're not, something's got to give, and we want to be a team that makes the other team give. And the Detroit preseason game was a great example of this. We started small in that game. They kind of punched us in the mouth, and then the third quarter of that game, we were really tough. And if we can play with that toughness small, and then teams have to guard us on the other end, that could be an advantage for us. And it was down the stretch. We were still kind of smaller than them down the stretch. But certainly left a lot to be desired. There's a lot we can learn from the first parts of that game.
And J-Dub got his first start tonight. What'd you see from him?
It's only his third game, and so a lot of it's just like getting a baseline, evaluating kind of where he's at. He's obviously a really good player. I thought when we were kind of lifeless defensively in the third quarter, and he was on Wagner, and he was trying to get it going. He had that foul that was kind of a late shot clock. It was probably a foul, but he got bailed out. That was unbelievable pressure on that play, and I was impressed by that because it was kind of nothing was really going right. The ball wasn't rolling down the hill, and yet he was trying to drum up something with his intensity and toughness, and that showed something. So we're just going to keep learning.
Jerry Ramsey with the franchise. Isaiah Joe checked in at the end of the first quarter, gave you 11 guys that you rotated in the first quarter.
Yep.
Were you just trying to grab like a lineup you liked? Were you just trying to look to see what you could do in that moment? Or just it was 11 guys really like on your radar of putting in the first quarter?
He was on my radar. I was definitely going to try to get him out there tonight. Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, it's less about how many we play. It's more everybody has their own identity and individual strengths, and we're trying to encourage them to play to those strengths and work on those strengths. And then when those strengths are relevant, we're going to deploy them, and, they've got to be ready to go in. Robinson Earl tonight is the best example of that, and Isaiah the other night. When your number gets called, go in there and be who you are, because, if we're calling your number, it's because we think we need that right now. And so we're training it. You know, it's up and down. It's not going to be perfect. There's, like I said, there's trade-offs to every approach. If you play 8 guys, there's positives to that, and there's negatives. And if you play 11 or 12 or 13 or different guys every night, there's positives and negatives to that. We're just doing what we think's best right now.
Daniel Bell, BSO. I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything.
I won't take it that way, especially coming from you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if you can coach poise, but I'm not an NBA coach either, so I wouldn't know. But the last 4 games, you guys have shown a lot of great poise. I mean, the youngest team in the NBA. Is that – what do you credit that to? Because there are a lot of times where you guys could have folded and gave up the lead or not come back from down 15. And it's not just the older guys. Like, it's Isaiah Joe also who doesn't have that much experience. So what would you give credit to that?
Well, first of all, can you tell me what's disrespectful? I was really bracing for that. I was like, anything could happen here.
It sounded disrespectful.
And I gave you permission. I was like, hey, blank check. I think some of it, comes from the guys. Like, I think you can't take away. It starts there always. You know, whatever's going on out there, it starts with them. And I think for young players, we've got guys with really good heads on their shoulders. And that goes a long way with what you're talking about, and I think it's contagious, and I think that's definitely part of the locker room, independent of anything else. And then I also think that organizationally, we try to create a very consistent, process-oriented environment that allows you to stay locked in on the moment and locked in on what we need right now, whether it's in a practice, recovery day, game. And I think that, you know, contributes on the margins, but the majority of the credit on that goes to the players.
Derek Parker, Inside the Thunder, first official game versus Banchero. What makes him so tough to guard, and what did you see out of him tonight specifically? He's
a really good player, great physical profile, and great craft. You know, he's very crafty for a young player. He's got kind of an old soul game. He draws fouls. He's a good passer. He plays the game the right way. You know, when he learns the pictures, you know, he's going to be even better. But I mean, the combination of kind of the size and skill is what makes him unique. And I was impressed with them. I mean, they came in here and they were at us, you know, for the majority of the game. They outplayed us the majority of the game. We were fortunate to win. I was really, you know, impressed with how we closed and, you know, the latter part of the game. But yeah, it's a good team that's got a bright future, obviously.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, see it.